You're listening to 91.5 WUML Lowell Blues Deluxe, and it's my pleasure to have Clay Melton on with me today. Hello there, Clay.
Hey, how you doing? Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. It's great to have you on the show. So let's go back to the beginning, your beginnings. You grew up where? Where were you when you grew up?
I was born in Lake Charles, Louisiana, which is where all my dad's side of the family is from and still living. And grew up in the Houston area, which all my mother's side of the family is in Texas. So got a little bit of both.
Yeah, Tab Benoit grew up there too in Lake Charles. That's where he lives, actually.
Love Tab.
He's great, isn't he?
Oh yeah,
Have you ever played with him?
haven't yet,
Yeah.
but yeah, I've listened to Power of the Ponch Train about 1,000 times.
Yeah, he's great. And so then how old were you when you decided you wanted to become a professional musician?
um, you know, I started playing guitar when I was 11, and like we were talking about earlier, when I was around 13, I kind of started going out in the Houston music scene, and I fell in love with playing guitar first, but then I fell in love with playing music at, in a live environment and just everything that goes along with that. There's something different about playing with other people that you just don't get playing by yourself. So from 13, 15 on, I didn't love anything nearly as much and just wanted to play all the time and took it pretty seriously from that point on.
So you moved from Louisiana to Houston, Texas. When did you do that actually?
I grew up in Houston. I moved there. We moved back and forth a couple times when I was growing up, and between Texas and Louisiana, and then we stayed probably from second grade on. So I really grew up out
In
around Houston
Houston.
and all that.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's a great music scene in Houston. Tell me about it a little bit. You're part of it now.
Yeah, it was a player named Carlos Johnson who went by Congress by Carlos was the band leader at some jams. Fitzgerald's was a storied, a history club there, having BB King and C. Ray Vaughan playing there, and Continental Club, the its sister club of the Austin location. So there was a lot of local spots to play blues and get to know other players, um, and of course, Lightning Hopkins, T-Bone Walker. Just in Texas alone, there's so many legends, and you hear all of it. And that's the interesting thing about growing up, just I guess in this region is also having heard the music out of Louisiana. There's a lot of different styles going on. It just within the genre of blues, in Texas and Louisiana.
And you have a lot of that influence in your music. I can hear it. You can hear
Yeah,
the
it's a
Louisiana part of it in some of your music too.
yeah. Sometimes it comes out. I grew up, listening to a lot of Louisiana funk and stuff like that. I love Dr. John, the Meters, all the Neville Brothers stuff. We actually cut a song that Aaron Neville covered, but it's a Randy Newman song on our live album, and um, it's easy. That's what I love about the food and the music down here. It's all just kind of a gumbo, you know.
So, first recording. When was your first recording? What year was it that you did your first record? I know you do a lot of singles. I was laughing at that when I was looking through. You have lots of singles that you put out. Do you do that purposely, or do you just you want people to get a taste of what you're doing and then you put out a record? How does that come about?
Yeah, previous to this year, we'd always put out one or two singles ahead of the album or EP that we were releasing, and so that you would eventually be put on an album. But usually, all that body of work is done. We approach our recording processes and kind of our writing and touring seasons as albums. I grew up listening. My first exposure to music before guitar was my dad gave me his cassette collection, which had 50 or so tapes, and like classic country and classic rock and blues, Willie Nelson, stuff like that. And so I just grew up listening to music as an album. So that's how we approach all our other processes. So our new songs, they're working towards a full release.
And you have two currently that are out: Alive on a Wire and Runner.
Yeah, these are the first in studio singles that we put out since our live album back in 2022 or 2022 last year. And so for this new process, we moved to kind of a DIY approach and recorded them both at my house in Houston, Texas, and are working remotely with our producer Sebastian Cure, who moved back to his home in Barry King, Colombia during the pandemic. So it's a new process, but we get to really experiment with it.
That's good. So let's talk about the first record. I'm guessing it's called "Burn the Ships." Was that the first record, or was there one
That was our
before that?
first full length.
Yeah,
That was our first full length, and that album, if you listen to it, you could categorize it as a little sporadic, but it was pretty intentionally so. We didn't want to get pigeonholed out of the gate. We wanted to see what people reacted to, and what worked for us as a group. And we also just had a varied collection of songs at that point. Um, and I'm really proud of the whole team that worked on that album and just how it came out still today.
and then a few years later, you did "Back to Blue."
Yeah,
That
we did
was
Back to Blue. Yeah.
2021, right?
Yes, sir. And that was really the fruits of our labor during the pandemic. A lot of that got written in 2020 when we were all home, and we worked with Danny Jones on that album. It had two live tracks that we cut kind of again DIY in different circumstances, but one with Malcolm Harper engineering, and we worked with Malcolm on the next release in 2022 for our live album that we
Live in
recorded.
Texas.
That's right.
Where in Texas was that recorded? Live
That was
where?
outside of Houston, Texas, at the Do-Si Do in the Woodlands, Texas, and it's a very cool venue. It's a 300-year-old tobacco barn that they moved from somewhere in the Delta. They moved it down piece by piece, rebuilt it. And the woods just soaks up the drums. It's a great venue.
So growing up, you're listening to all kinds of different music from what you tell me, country and rock and blues. And so what was it about blues that got you started, that you wanted to be a blues prodigy, as they call you?
Um, well, with it was falling in love with the guitar. It was Hendrix. Hearing All Along the Watchtower blew my mind. And then I started, reading and listening to interviews I could get my hands on, and hearing him talk about his influences, and then going back to those. Buddy Guy was an influence that I, read about. That was one of the first that I really kicked myself off onto a little bit more traditional style blues. And then I just, I was always a history nerd, and so when I came to music, I'm still a huge music history nerd, and so I really just listened to everything I could, all the way back to Robert Johnson and Son House, and it that's kind of just what kicked it off, and just going back to my first influences: Stevie Ray Vaughan, Jimi Hendrix, ZZ Top, bands you can't grow up in Texas without hearing, especially
Yep.
if you play guitar. But just their influences and seeing what happened.
There's been a lot of guitarists that come out of Texas, I'll tell you. I mean, I could name you a whole bunch of them. Johnny Clyde Copeland was from Texas.
Hmm.
Two guys that were in John Mayall's band. I don't know if you know Buddy Whittington, if you know his name.
Not sure.
Rocky Athos, who used to play with Stevie, were both in John Mayall's band, both from Texas.
Yep.
And then we get, you go into a different genre. Well, not really, but the Los Lonely Boys, Henry
Oh
Garza,
yeah, yeah,
another great guitar player. All you guys are from Texas. It's crazy.
yeah. Johnny Winter, man.
Johnny
Freddie
Winter, yep.
King,
I forgot about him. Yep.
Freddie King,
Freddie
T-Bone
King.
Walker,
Yep.
Glenn Hopkins.
Yep. You got them all.
Yeah, man. There. I mean, there's no shortage of and that's what I was saying. But all those players are different in their own way, and
Yep.
that's what attracted me to guitar, I think, and also listening to all these blues guitars specifically is guitar is an instrument where you hear the personality very honestly, and you hear a great player and it's them right away.
Tell me, you did some opening for you opened for Robert Cray. What was that like?
I usually when we're opening for an artist larger than us, we try and keep it professional, but I was having to keep my self excitement down a little bit just because I was so influenced by him when I was growing up playing guitar. But it's thing about playing with acts like that, legends, is you learn a lot even just by watching, and seeing how they interact and how they do their thing.
So did you get to talk to him or meet him at all?
Just briefly, super nice guys. His whole band was super super kind.
And then I read that you opened for Grand Funk Railroad of all bands. Another
Rock and roll.
crazy. How was that?
Oh, they're rock and roll legends, man. It's crazy to hear those songs, that I'd heard growing up and everything. Um, and that was thanks to our friend Glenn Smith, who was Garth Brooks' promoter for uh, about 20 years, and he's booked us in front of a lot of great acts, Chris Daughtry and Night Ranger this past year. And same thing, like that. That was a slightly bigger festival stage, and they brought out a big riser. He did a great drum solo, and so it's just super cool to see him do it.
Any other opening shows you've done that were memorable for you that you want to talk about?
We opened up for Edgar Winter when the reason we did our live album at Dosey Do is because the owner Steve Syed was one of the first talent buyers in Houston to really give me a chance to play some serious gigs, and to graduate from the local jams to opening up a show for somebody. And it wasn't the first show we did there, but it was one of the early big ones, and that was that's super influential or just important where I was at that time. I was probably 15 or 16, um, and seeing him do Frankenstein and his whole band just jammed so hard, it just made me want to do music even more.
That's great. Where's your favorite place to play in Texas?
In Texas,
Yeah.
ooh man, I love the Continental Club in Houston. Um, it's just it's obviously had a lot of great players come through there, both the Austin and Houston locations. But it just got a homey vibe. It's exactly what I think of like a blues and rock club should be.
And outside of Texas, where's your favorite place that you've played?
Man, we're loving the Northeast. We were here last summer. Had a great time in Boston, at the Sinclair. That was a great venue over there. Um, Down actually, I guess Cambridge technically. Um, but we loved it up there. We're playing Daryl's house for the first time on this run up in Pauling, and I was a big fan of the show and obviously the band, and so we're excited to check that out.
Yeah, that's this Saturday. You're going to be there.
That's right, yeah, April
And
30th.
then you're coming to Jimmy's Jazz and Blues Club in Portsmouth on the 3rd. That's a great
Yes,
place. Wait till you see
that
that place.
man, I've only heard great things, and then looking at it and stuff, it looks beautiful, and it'll be our first time in Portsmouth, and we know we got a great crowd coming out already, and so it's one of the more exciting shows we're getting ready for.
And then you're here at the Bull Run, which isn't far from me. It's that place is an interesting place too because it's an old inn,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
they serve food. People get to watch you and eat and enjoy the show.
yeah, nothing wrong with that. Um, yeah, we played. I played there once before back in 2019 on another tour
So
with some
you've
other
been
artists.
there. Wow, you've been there. That's good.
Yeah, this is the first time with my band. I was touring with another band, doing just hard work and stuff, and it was a unique stop, and we had a great time. So I'm excited to bring the band there.
Yeah, that's a nice place. You're gonna. I mean, it's always been a great place to see a show.
Yeah,
So
had a
where do
lot of
you
history.
go ahead?
No, no, after you.
Where do you see yourself in the next 2 to 3 years? Where do you want to be?
We have a lot of different projects that are kind of long term in that we have plans that we want to see happen in terms of where we're taking the music. But as far as touring goes, I want to be selling out the venues that we're playing this summer. I want to. There's a lot of festivals that we want to hit in this upcoming year over at the Telluride Blues Fest, um, and just take our music overseas and do as much as possible.
Have you been overseas? Have you played overseas?
Not yet. Those are some of the plans that are in the works that we're waiting for the right time. We were supposed to go over there pre-pandemic, and then everything kind of shut down. So we're hoping to get over there soon.
Who writes all the music? Do you write it, or who does
It's a
that?
combined group effort. I try and bring in the bones of a song. I'll have a verse, pre-chorus, and all that stuff. But we like to arrange as a full group. And everybody contributes, and that's because really due to having a consistent group nowadays that really gels well. It's Zach Grindle on the drums, who I've been playing with for coming up on since our debut album 2017. So coming up on 7 years. Um, and then Zachary Cox on the bass guitar. I've known since middle school, and he joined the group almost 2 years ago now. And I love his perspective on the arrangements because he's a guitarist first himself. So he really understands where I'm coming from whenever I bring these songs that originate on the guitar. But he's great in the rhythm section, and so we're having fun arranging full band now.
That's good. So the
Yeah.
two songs that you have right now that are singles, are they going to come out on another record, a new record down the road?
That's what we're working towards. This year we're busier than ever. Thankfully, we signed a new booking agency deal with Hungrier Agency, who's out of the Northeast as well. And so this year is our first time kind of doing the balancing act of being on the road a lot and then studio work in between those runs. So, which I love because it gives us a chance to work out new material in front of audiences, and really get to give them a good run.
Any idea when that record might come out?
We're
Next
looking
year?
around, next year, around spring 24.
And how many songs do you have so far? I know you have two, but how many more do you have ready to go?
We've got a lot written. The recording process we're holding off on until our summer or spring and summer touring slows down, and so we can do that process of working these new ones out. But it's going to be a full length album.
That's good.
Yeah.
And touring. How much tour you talk about how much touring you got? You got a lot going, I see, huh? Coming up?
Yeah, we're gonna announce a couple more tours for this year. Basically going to be out for months at a couple, like a month at a time, and home for a couple weeks. So we're doing around 130 dates this year, I think.
That's a
And not a lot
lot.
of people.
That's a lot of
Nice and
dates.
busy. Yeah, yeah. I love it though. It's it's one thing that always attracted me to doing the professional side of touring or playing music, and it's a lot of fun. And if it's not a lot of fun, it's a different thing.
Have you played in Chicago at all?
No, but we're set to announce a show at Reggie's in Chicago for this summer, and my sister actually just moved up there with her husband, so I might be spending a little bit more time up there.
Yeah, you'll have to get into Buddy Guys and play in his club too.
That is the goal. Buddy Guy's is one of those players where he's my bucket list to jam with. He's one of my favorite. He's a Louisiana boy like me too, and great club.
So how do people find out about you? You
All of
have a
our
website, right?
yes, sir. It's claymelton.com. All of our music, videos, tour dates, and everything are all on there.
That's great. So let's go over the dates again, the local dates coming up. And I got a list of them right here. You're going to be at the Drake on the 29th, which is Friday, right? In Amherst, Amherst, Mass.
Yes,
And
sir.
then Daryl's house in Pauling, New York on the 30th, which is Saturday. And then Sunday, you're going to be at the Iridium. Have you ever played there?
No, we actually just moved that show. So we're in Sellersville Friday, Amherst, Mass on Saturday, and
Yeah.
Pauling on Sunday. And then
Oh,
we'll be
okay.
at Jimmy's Jazz and Blues in Portsmouth on the 3rd,
Yep.
Shirley, Mass on the 4th, and then a couple more dates in New Jersey and Dalton, Mass.
Yeah, the Stationery Factory in Dalton. I've never heard of that place. So the
I've heard.
Iridium, you don't have the Iridium show anymore, right? Or
No,
do you?
sir. We're pushing that back to another time of the year.
That's going to be a fun one. Lots of great blues people have played in that place.
Les Paul's home club. Yeah,
Yep.
we're real excited to check it out.
And jazz, it's a jazz club too. It does everything.
Yeah,
So
you know,
go ahead.
I was gonna say we're excited for it.
So claymelton.com, you're on Facebook and Instagram and all that stuff, correct?
Yeah, all our social media is just Clay Melton Music.
How do people get your CDs? I know you can get them online, some of it online, but where do they go to? Can they go direct to your website to get them, or how do they do that?
Yes, sir. On our website, merch store on there, and all our CDs. We just sold out of our vinyl, but we got some new shirt design we actually just released for this tour we're on. We're starting right now. So all that's just at claymelton.com.
Great. Well, I just want to say thank you very much. I know you're busy and you're traveling, and we were supposed to connect on Monday of this week, and you were traveling then, and this is the first chance you've had to be able to do this where weren't traveling really right now. You're able to sit down and do the interview, which is great.
Yeah, we just did about 20 hours of driving, so I appreciate you having me on and making it happen. Thanks a lot.
And I want to thank John Lappin who connected us. That's a great. He works for you for Publicis, right?
Yes, he does. We love working with John, and we want to say thank you, John, too. He's the man.
So again, thank you very much. And whenever you're in the area, make sure you contact me. We're going to get you to come play on the show one of these days.
We'd love to. Listen.
All right. Well, thank you again. Have a great day.
Cheers.
See ya. Thank you. That was Clay Melton live right here on Blues Deluxe.